Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Second Act, Life at 50 Plus. I'm Ron Beacom. In today's program, we'll focus on something we all do but can't get enough of: sleep. We'll get some advice on how to find the right kind of living arrangements as we get older. In our Spotlight segment, we'll get a taste of what's involved in brewing beer, and we'll keep moving with Chuck Cusick. There aren't many things better than a good night's sleep, but for many of us, that's not easy to achieve. The American Sleep Apnea Association reports 50 to 70 million Americans have sleep disorders, and 1 in 3 adults do not get the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep per day.
Hi Dennis, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
The medical professional is Devin Fenner, the physician assistant at the My Michigan Sleep Disorders Clinic in Midland. The patient is Dennis Doyle, a Midland resident. The 54-year-old Doyle is a math teacher at Clare High School. He also coaches wrestling and football. Dennis has had 3 major problems with his sleep.
So I have sleep apnea, I have restless leg syndrome, and I also have hypersomnolence.
We'll learn more about Dennis's problems later, but first, we ask the professional, what is sleep?
Good. It's great to see you. It's been a little while. Sleep is an altered state of consciousness that our brain and our bodies need in order to restore itself. It's where our brain helps to remove toxins that build up during the day and helps prep our body for the next day. Broken down into a couple different stages. So we have non-REM sleep and REM sleep, very cleverly termed, and we cycle through these different stages of sleep during the night. Usually about 4 to 5 cycles during the night. A sleep cycle typically lasts about 90 to 120 minutes.
Devin describes some of the problems that can occur when our sleep is insufficient.
Our body during sleep helps to remove those toxins, as I mentioned before, but it's also where our body helps to build a healthy immune system, helps to fight off chronic diseases. So if somebody has insufficient sleep, oftentimes patients can experience daytime sleepiness, an increase in irritability. It can cause difficulty with memory consolidation, and this can impact us acutely the next day. But then long term, our body cannot fight off diseases like it can when you do have sufficient sleep. Increases our risk for things like cardiovascular disease, memory disorders, mood disorders, long term.
The main sleep disorders include insomnia, trouble falling asleep or staying asleep; sleep apnea, a person stops breathing; sleep disorder breathing, including loud snoring; restless leg syndrome; hypersomnolence, excessive sleepiness during the day; and narcolepsy, sudden sleep. When is it time to seek help?
Patients can seek help regarding their sleep at any point in time. A lot of times if patients are feeling excessively sleepy during the day, if they feel unrefreshed by their sleep, having difficulties falling asleep or staying asleep, or even returning to sleep if you wake up during the night. It's also a good thing to have a conversation with your healthcare provider regarding sleep, just to ensure that maybe the sleep that you have is appropriate sleep. Your sleep practices, because sleep is so entwined with multiple chronic diseases.
Spouses or bed partners may also notice problems with our sleep, including sleep apnea.
Our spouses, our bed partners can detect pauses in our breathing. Sometimes as individuals, we do recognize this. We wake up gasping, gagging, choking. But a lot of times these symptoms are noted by our bed partners because by the time our body wakes us up, we're breathing again. We don't remember why we were waking up.
A sleep study is often one of the first steps in determining the extent of a person's sleep problems. Some studies can be done at home, others at the sleep disorders lab. One of the outcomes may be a prescription for a CPAP machine. CPAP stands for Continuous Positive Airway Pressure, which is delivered through a mask to keep airways open. It's worn while you sleep.
Let me show you some different options when it comes to CPAP masks. A lot of people are familiar with the full face style and they're a little bit nervous about that, a lot of coverage. But there are other options when it comes to CPAP masks, much smaller options, kind of like this nasal mask here. It's a little cup that sits over the nose. We also have masks that just sit under the nose where hoses can come out of the top of the head. So if you're tossing and turning during the night, the hose can move with you versus pulling those hoses over your shoulder. For those who breathe through their mouths, again, you don't have to do the big mask that sits over the nose and covers the mouth. They make masks that sit under the nose and cover the mouth. A lot of versatility here.
Devin is often asked about the much advertised Inspire sleep aid device that is installed inside the body.
One of the main quantifications for the Inspire device is you must try and fail CPAP or BiPAP therapy. Because this therapy modality does not work as well as a CPAP, is far more invasive and more costly than a CPAP, you must try the first-line therapy option first before we can even consider going down that pathway.
Our patient Dennis, his restless leg syndrome was so bad, he wore holes in the bed sheets. He finally sought help when he was in his mid-30s after his snoring worsened.
So the remedies or the treatments that I received have been life-changing. I was sleepy during the day much of the time, and once I started using the CPAP machine, it was probably about 2 months later that I finally noticed that days were going by that I was not sleepy during the day. Before the CPAP machine, it was every single day at work. I was struggling to stay awake, and then it got to the point where once I was on the CPAP machine long enough, it might have been once a month that I was sleepy during the day or struggled to stay awake at work.
A medication was prescribed to lessen his restless leg syndrome. He's also taken other steps, including massage for his calves. Dennis has adjusted his diet, no longer drinks pop, digests less sugar, dairy products, and other inflammatory foods, and he consumes more anti-inflammatory foods, including salmon, walnuts, and tart cherry juice. Devin discourages consuming caffeine and alcohol and nicotine use long before you go to bed. All steps you can take to improve your sleep hygiene.
The most important thing to do is to maintain consistency in your sleep-wake schedule. Maintaining the same wake-up time daily is the most important thing. This is something that I see often in individuals as they age. After retirement, you're not held to that clock anymore. You can finally sleep in. You don't have to be held to a schedule. But oftentimes, this is where patients start to develop what they feel is insomnia. Maintaining a consistent wake-up time will help to regulate your bedtime that next night. Avoiding naps during the day. Like I said earlier, we really only need between 7 and 9 hours of total sleep in a 24-hour period. So if you engage in a 2-hour nap during the day, your sleep quota at nighttime may only be 5 hours. Screen use. In today's day of technology, we see screens everywhere. Avoiding use of technology 30 minutes before your intended bedtime can provide a lot of assistance, because looking at those screens, the blue light in the screens mimics sunlight. It tricks our brain, telling us that it's actually daytime, so we don't get that push to fall asleep anymore.
Dennis maintains a regular sleep schedule and tries not to stimulate his brain before bed by doing schoolwork or coaching prep. The many steps he's taken have paid off.
Oh, it has been incredible. The improved sleep has, like I said about the CPAP machine, has been life-changing. The restless leg syndrome was probably the most frustrating and irritating of the 3 sleep disorders. And now that everything is under control, the sleep that I'm getting is so much better. I'm more rested during the day. The hypersomnolence isn't as pronounced now. I don't get the sleepiness as often as I used to. And I think I'm more alert. I think I'm a better teacher. I think that just life in general is much better than it used to be.
One final note on sleep. Devin often gets asked about the use of cannabis. She told us there is little convincing evidence at this time that demonstrates that cannabis use leads to significant improvements in sleep disorders. She encourages people to consult with their healthcare providers. Up next, some advice on finding the right living arrangements as we get older.
Hello, Rich Martin, Assisted Living Locators. I help families and seniors find independent assisted living and memory care communities in the Great Lakes Bay region. One of the things we want to talk about today are the different types of assisted living communities, and that can range from anything between independent living to assisted living to memory care. When we talk about independent living, it's just that, it's independent. So you'd be responsible for your meals, your laundry, your medication management, just about anything that you do throughout the day to survive to the next day. Within independent living communities, there's something that I call a hybrid. And that is an independent living community that provides some additional services. For example, a meal plan. So you don't have to cook all of your meals, maybe a continental breakfast and a dinner is provided. Some other communities offer care on an a la carte basis. So if you just need help with your medication management or you just need help with showers a couple times a week, you can buy those services through these hybrid independent communities on an a la carte basis. Assisted living is different because they provide just about all of your care needs throughout the day. Meals are included, 3 meals a day, snacks, beverages, housekeeping, laundry services, medication management, anything that you need to help you with your activities of daily living. And that's a phrase you'll hear from time to time. Activities of daily living can be anything from showering to medication, toileting, mobility issues, transferring from a bed to a wheelchair, for example, and assisted living communities provide all that kind of care. They typically will do an assessment of a new resident moving in to figure out how much help they need throughout the day. Some assisted living communities have a different charge for folks who need more care. They may say, if you just need help with your medication, maybe you're a level 1. And if you're a level 5, then you need help with all of your activities throughout the day. Wheelchair bound, maybe bed bound, and some examples. One of the benefits of assisted living is that they bring the services to the senior. So rather than going out for appointments for all kinds of things, they bring those services right to you. And that can be physical therapy, occupational therapy, podiatrist, hospice services are all available inside of an assisted living community. In fact, many assisted living communities have a beauty salon or hair salon. Some have movie theaters. So their really effort is to bring all of the services to the senior inside that community. They provide so many events and activities for the seniors. They have cards and bingo and trips to the casino, trips to the dollar store, shopping, anything going on in the community like a farmer's market. They'll definitely pack up the people in the van and go down to the farmer's market. So great opportunity for seniors to socialize and get that interaction that sometimes they miss living at home. Oftentimes, folks with dementia or Alzheimer's disease need additional care, and they need an additional secured environment. In those situations, there's memory care communities. The staff there is trained. Of course, when you think about the level of care that's provided in memory care communities, it's the highest. So from independent will be your least expensive, and memory care will be your most expensive service available. When we talk about financing for assisted living, and there's no doubt about it that this stuff is expensive. And they really come in two varieties. One, and the first is private pay. So for private pay, it's just that. You would be responsible for paying the monthly fees there at the community. Most people do this with a combination of their Social Security, pension. If they have long-term care insurance, that might be an additional way to pay for senior living. On the other side of the coin, for folks without a lot of resources, there is something called the Michigan MI Waiver Program. And there are some qualifications to be eligible for that, but that will help pay for assisted living, but not all communities accept that. One of the things I'll encourage people to do is to do a little bit of research and planning ahead of time. You never know when you're going to have a fall, God forbid, and you have to find a community in a short amount of time. So it's important to talk to your friends and family, see where they have relatives that have had good success. Do some online research. Many of the communities have robust websites where you can see what kind of features and benefits that they have, what kind of services they provide. I'd encourage you to check out a Facebook page or two so you can see what the residents are up to, what kind of activities they're taking part in, and then not uncommon to tour communities before you make a decision. So stop in, talk to the management, talk to the leadership there, see how the residents are interacting with the staff. Just a great way to get to know the communities in your neighborhood well, and to see maybe which would be a potential for you in the future.
Thanks, Rich. Up next, we put the spotlight on a local brewmaster who shows us what's involved in making beer. It's a Monday evening in late September at Tri-City Brewing in Bay City. The brewery is hosting a food pairing event featuring their beer and grilled cheese sandwiches prepared by Gino's at 989. The brewmaster is Paul Popa.
The first pairing is coming out. I'll talk about the beers. The beer first. This is our Ruckinator, our Doppelbock. It's going to be paired with a smoked bacon Gouda, grilled onion, grilled cheese sandwich.
Tri-City Brewing first opened in 2007, part of the wave of new craft breweries in Michigan. The brewery moved to its current location in 2016. Paul's been involved from the beginning. He's a chemist, retiring from Dow almost 5 years ago.
I was a chemist, a product development chemist, and I was also an avid home brewer. And I met Kevin Peel, the founder and president of Tri-City Brewing, at Dow. A lot of home brewers think about opening up a brewery. Kevin actually did the legwork, put stuff together, was looking for investors. I sat down, talked to him. He was looking for a lot of sweat equity, people to help get started with different skill sets. I happen to be a home brewer, so early on, Kevin and I, a number of other home brewers, friends of ours that came in and helped brew. Jim Malik, one of them, who's here today, helped early on with a lot of the batches. And then within the first year, Kevin and I started splitting responsibilities because it was too much. Both of us still working at Dow. He took on more of the packaging, obviously running the company, working with distributors, and I handled all the brewery operations up to packaging, which at that time was kegging, and then within the year we bought a bottling line as well.
While Paul is visible at many events, most of his work is done behind the scenes, starting early in the morning.
Today we're making Hell's Half Mile, and this is the very first part of the process. We're milling in the grain, so you want to get a closer shot of the grain here. It's whole kernel malted barley, and this is our mill. So then from the mill, it runs up through the auger, which is this red hose here. and goes into the mash tun. And the mash tun is basically a steeping of the grain. So it's sort of like making coffee or tea. So the grain is in there, and the steeping process actually converts enzymes to start reducing the sugars, which is fermentable in the beer. So I mentioned this is Hell's Half Mile. They're doing a 15-barrel batch, which is 465 gallons of beer. And this particular batch of beer for Hell's is about 880 pounds of grain of malted barley. We've already mashed in, or we've got the mash going right now in the mash tun. When that's done, we'll transfer it to the boil kettle, which we're going to boil the beer, then that'll help sanitize it. We'll add our hops. That process takes about 60 minutes. Then we'll run it through our heat exchanger into the fermenter. We're going to go into the big 30-barrel there, but still just a 15-barrel batch. That transfer will take about 2 hours. I'll add the yeast, and about 7 to 10 days later, we'll have Hell's Half Mile. Then we'll move the beer, show over here, into one of these copper jacketed tanks on the outside. These are lagering tanks, so Hell's Half Mile will lager for several weeks to a month. After that, we will then get it ready to filter. Okay, I just got done hooking up the filter, or the pump to the filter. We flushed out the sanitizer and the yeast from the tank to clear the lines. Attach the pump to the filter. It's a plate and frame filter here. Paper cartridges removing the yeast. And then we'll filter into this tank carbonated, and then it'll be kegged off later on, or bottled.
It can take a few weeks to complete a batch of beer. Tri-City honors the local community by having several beers with names tied to Bay City, including Hell's Half Mile, Phoenix, Charity Island, and Edson. While Tri-City has earned over 80 awards in beer tasting competitions, Paul pursues another reward.
My reward is seeing happy faces come into the tap room and drinking good beer. So when I make a beer, it's always exciting to see the feedback we get on it. If people like it, it's great. I get a lot of suggestions of what to make. This style, that style, put this, put that in it. As I tell everybody, I take it under advisement and figure out what we're going to do. We think about what's going to sell, keep tabs on what's going on in the marketplace. But that's the ultimate reward. It's just fun to see people. As a product development person, hey, we're making something here that people are willing to spend money on. Good, very good. What was your favorite?
Thanks, Paul. We're heading into winter. Chuck Cusick has some ideas on how we can keep moving.
Summer seems to be over. It's time to get ready for fall and winter. We have to keep up our movement. We've got to keep walking, running, or whatever we do. We're going to have to move inside probably for safety reasons. We can walk at the mall. We can join the Y and do some swimming or running on their track. At any rate, you and I have to keep moving. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some light weights that we can use to help keep our strength up all through the winter. So we're going to use light weights today. I'm using some light 5-pounders, but you could use a lighter than that, or if you don't have any weights, why not take a couple of water bottles? Depending how much you put in, it might be 3 pounds or less. You could also go to cans of corn or peas. You find something that you're comfortable with, just add a little bit of weight to our exercise program. Let's begin with shoulder shrugs. My arms are straight by my side. I just bring my shoulders up to my ears and let them down. Well, we can do this 4, 5, 8 times. And then we want to roll them forward. Just feel the muscles as your bones work their way through them. Let's go the other direction. Yeah. Starts to loosen up and warm up a little bit. Doesn't that feel good? These exercises are for our shoulders. We'll use our deltoid muscles mostly. First one I want to do is a lateral raise. We go up very slowly and slowly down. I like to use a count of 1, 2, 1, 2. See how easy it is? Use that shoulder. Do about 4 to 8. There's 4. Let's do a forward. I go forward, it's the same. Don't go fast, don't swing the weights. Keep control the whole time. All right, now we'll go behind. Keep the arms straight, lift behind and back. Lift behind, back to the hip, lift behind. And lastly, for our rotator cuff, we'll do the lift and pour. Slowly down. Some people have a tendency to let the weights drop real fast and bring them up. Not good, you don't gain anything. Keep it nice and slow and easy. Hey, how about that? All the exercises we've done so far could also be done in a chair. You know, I love the chair because it's so important to all of us to keep our quadriceps, our thigh muscles very strong. So let's do it. Most accidents and falls happen in the bathroom. That's why it's so important to use these muscles to get us up and down, up and down. You can't do it enough. I can use my weights to add a little bit more as I sit and stand. Again, I like to go nice and slow, so I'm not depending on my momentum as much as I am my own muscles. So we've used our weights for several things. One, as long as we're sitting, we can use them for our wrists. Wrist curls, very simply, I just rest my forearms on my thighs and curl up, only using my wrists, not my arms. Then I can face down with my hands. Again, wrist curls only, using the wrist, and side to side. Now that I'm down here with the weights, why not put them on my knees and lift my knees? A little bit harder than without a weight. And then I can lift and kick. I'm going to finish up with some calf raises. Go up on my toes and let it down. Up high, let it down. You want to feel your calf muscles. You don't want to forget that you have those muscles also. And then up and hold, and that'll wrap it up. We've done a lot with our weights today, so we know how important they are. But now that we go into winter, we have to remember we have to keep our aerobic exercise going too. It's so important. Whether we're walking, swimming, running, whatever, you and I have to just keep moving.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks as well to Paul, the brewmaster, Rich for his senior living advice, and Devin and Dennis in our sleep segment. Thanks for watching this edition of Second Act Life at 50 Plus. You can also see this episode and others online. My name is Ron Beacom. We'll see you again next time.